Hey guys, what's up? Today I'm going to be teaching you how to properly charge and storage charge your LiPo batteries, as well as some other things. So let's jump right into it.
Jordan. All right. So now the first thing you want to do before you start charging is identify what connector you have. Now in this case, it has an XT60 on there. You can actually see it's labeled, which is nice. These are the smaller yellow ones. These aren't too common anymore. And then you'll have a larger version of that, which is the XT90. These used to come on the Armas, and they no longer do. They have switched over to the IC5 or EC5. Basically, the IC and EC5s are the same. That's going to be the larger blue or orange. Typically on like Arma vehicles and Spectrum, anything Spectrum, you're going to have either a IC5 or IC3. The IC3 is going to be the smaller one, again in blue or orange. In this case, the orange one is going to be the IC3, and basically what dictates the difference is this little plug, this little prong here in the middle. And really all that is for is if you are using a Spectrum battery that's going to have that, and you are using a Spectrum charger, then basically it's going to communicate with that charger and tell it exactly what to do. So all you have to do is hit start, or in some cases with the G2 batteries, you don't even have to do anything. You just plug it in and it knows what to do. So, but we're dealing with a dumb charger today, so we have to put everything in. So, and one other plug that most people know is the Traxxas plug. Now, yes, this does look different because it does not have the housing around the outside, but that housing is really only there for the Traxxas ID, which is very similar to the Spectrum setup. So if you have a Traxxas battery and a Traxxas charger, then they can talk to each other and give each other information. So it is super helpful, super handy, especially if you have kids. It makes it extremely easy to use. But if you just have one of these older style Traxxas plugs, they still plug into all the newer style and work just as good. Now, we are using a high-tech X4 charger, which is a little bit older, but thankfully the protocols and system works very similar to all the other chargers that are out there. So this process will be essentially the same on something like the gensace iMars charger. It'll be the same in the Prophet, the Dynamite chargers, and many others. It will be different for Traxxas and Spectrum. There's plenty of other chargers, but most of them use this very similar programming. All right, now on the side here, you'll see these little prongs. Boop, 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 boop. And they are all numbered. They're essentially for your balance board, or in some cases, some chargers, you don't even need to use a balance board. You can literally just have it plugged right in, and typically it would plug in to the left or to the right normally. So then you're going to plug in your charge cable. In this case, it's got bullet ends, and you always want to make sure that you're plugging in positive to positive, negative to negative. Otherwise, you're going to have a bad day. So let's shimmy this over here a little bit. And since we are using the XT60, you plug in your XT60, and thankfully, the way that they are designed, you can't really plug them in wrong. So you will plug in the XT60 plug, or your charge cable plug. And then also plug in your balance board or your balance wire. And essentially what the balance wire does is it tells the battery what power, where to put the power, essentially. So it is making sure that each cell inside the battery is charging equally. Super important. Otherwise, most chargers won't even charge if you're not plugged in. Now, as you can see, we got 5 amps, 11.1 volts, 3 cell, 3S. And looking at the battery, the rule of thumb is you want to charge 1 amp for every 1,000 milliamps. So if you were charging this little 700 milliamp, you would charge at 0.7. This is the safe way to charge, is you would charge it at 0.7 for something like this little guy here. But we're charging the 5,000 milliamp. Now, we can charge it at 0.7. It just might take a couple hours to charge this much. So, good rule of thumb is 1 amp for every 1,000 milliamp. And typically, as long as your charger will do that, you're likely to see charge times within the hour, at least. Obviously, if it's a lower milliamp, it's going to be a little bit quicker. But again, with being a 5,000 milliamp, we get to charge it at 5 amps. If we were charging, say, a 4,000 milliamp, we would charge it at 4 amps, and 3,000 at 3 amps, and so on. Now, you can charge at a higher amp if you want to charge quicker. This is popular with racers. But if you're just starting out, I don't normally recommend it. I normally recommend the normal 1 amp for every 1,000 milliamp. So, as you saw, I pushed the start button, and that is getting the amp changed. If you push it again, now you can change what voltage you're at. And again, this is going to work for most chargers out there now, excluding like Traxxas and Spectrum. And then once you have your parameters set, you just push and hold that button and it'll ask you a question. It'll do a battery check, basically give you the option of confirm or cancel. And we want to confirm it. So we're going to hit start, and now it's starting. It's charging. We're good. Now, a cool little feature that's on most chargers is once you are charging, the up, down arrow, or in this case, left or right, or decrease or increase, you can normally hit one of them, and it'll actually tell you the voltage of each cell. So currently, we got 3.86, 3.86, and 3.586 roughly. It's not uncommon for them to be 0.1 or 2 off. When you should be concerned, or when you do have problems, you'll typically see either one voltage or one cell reading 0, or one cell drastically lower than the rest. So that is how you properly charge a LiPo battery. Now, when your battery is done, the charger will tell you full or complete or capacity. Typically, it'll make a noise and indicate that it is done. Sometimes it's just a flashing light, but there's ways that it will tell you that it's done charging. All right, so now I'm going to show you how to put your battery into storage mode. And what is good for that is basically you don't want to let these batteries sit fully dead or fully charged. Basically, because even though it's not plugged in or doing anything, the power can still fluctuate in there. So if you drove the car until it hit LiPo cutoff, then unfortunately, if you let it sit for a couple weeks, there's a good chance that battery can run until it is completely dead and be zero. So unfortunately, your battery's no good in that case, but don't worry. I got a video coming out on how to possibly fix it. So stay tuned for that. But also, you don't want the battery to be completely fully charged either, because what can sometimes happen is it can build up almost like a gas pocket, so to speak, and essentially just become puffy. And you can almost see it in this one. This one's a little puffy. It's nothing too crazy, especially with this one. But that can also cause problems. Or sometimes it can just make the voltage in there be weird. I've seen one cell that just drops while the other two stay fine, or the other ones stay fine. Not even necessarily a 3-cell. But anyway, it's always good to storage charge your batteries if you're going to let them sit for a couple weeks, for sure a couple months. Now we are going to put the charger into storage mode. So we are going to select LiPo storage, and every charger is different, but some of them in storage mode, it might only let you storage at half the amp of what milliamp is, or what the max milliamp that your charger can charge up to, or amp. So in this case, mine will charge or discharge at 2 amps. So basically, you set your voltage. So 2 amps, it's the highest we can go. You'll push and hold. It'll do a little battery check, and now it is storage charging. So essentially, if you see, we're at 3.83, 3.84, 3.83. So basically the charger will look at the battery and go, what do I need to do? Do I need to discharge this battery? Do I need to charge this battery? Essentially, storage will figure out what it needs to be, what it needs to do to put your battery at roughly about 30 to 40% charge. And that's typically how most batteries will come from the factory. So it actually probably will be done storage charging here pretty quick, because this one is, I ran it until it was about dead. So typically somewhere around 3.8 volts is 3.8 ish is roughly where it'll normally stop it. So it's pretty common.
All right, and that is how you properly charge and storage your LiPo batteries. So if you want to learn more stuff, be sure to subscribe. If you want to see cool RC footage, be sure to check out the other videos. And if you think that this is funny looking, then comment down below. If not, nothing else, just hit the like button, and I'll catch you on the next one.